Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fresh Take from What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy. Today we're talking to Mark Bittman, the author of more than 30 books, including the How to Cook Everything series. Over his long career at the New York Times, Bittman wrote for both the food and opinion pages and was the lead magazine food writer before launching his own popular website, The Bittman Project. Bittman has starred in 4 television series, is a longtime Today regular, and has made hundreds of television, radio, and podcast appearances. He is also the co-host with daughter Kate Bittman of the podcast Food with Mark Bittman, and Mark's new book is How to Cook Everything Kids. We're going to be talking about it today. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
We feel in very good hands today.
Yes.
We're going to be talking all things kids and cooking. So this book, which I really enjoy, talks about making the kitchen a place of joy and discovery for kids. And I think we sometimes approach the kitchen as a place either kids should stay out of our way in, or kids should come and help and then stay out of our way. And I think that for moms, and there's a realistic part there, which it involves a lot of mess and chaos. And sometimes we feel like the kitchen would be easier if the kids could just stay out of it. So starting with the big question, why kids in the kitchen, and how does it change their relationship with food?
I mean, I'm not suggesting that kids take mom's or dad's places in the kitchen. Or,
really? I would like that.
That would be fine with us.
I'm ready to have a mini caterer.
I speak to people all the time whose kids, teenage kids, are cooking dinner for them. It happens all the time. And there was a brief period, I'm older, so I did my parenting in the 80s and 90s mostly, but there was a brief period when my younger daughter insisted that she was going to help me cook every Tuesday night. And when I say brief, I think it lasted for a month. But
this tracks, as the kids say. That sounds right to me.
But I mean, maybe 2. But look, if you think that cooking has value, and people who cook mostly do think that cooking has value, then it's really important to show the kids how much fun it can be, how easy it can be, what beautiful things you can produce, what wonderful, healthy, etc. things you can produce. And the only way to do that is to get them in the kitchen and to not think of them as a hindrance, but think of them as, or think of it as part of their general education, their general adulting, their general becoming a person. I don't suggest that kids do their own cooking. I don't suggest that kids take over. I do suggest that kids spend time in the kitchen with their parents, and especially with the parent who's cooking, which of course is usually the mom. The food in here is designed to be appealing to kids and designed to be fun to cook. But it's also, of course, designed to be healthy, good, real, from scratch cooking. You know, this is not like help me microwave the lasagna. This is like, let's make a lasagna. And some of the food is a little wacky or kid oriented, and we can get into that. But it's all meant to be eaten by everyone, not just the kids, but the adults. But the idea is to really lure the kid into cooking and make it fun, make the food really appealing, and at the same time sort of teach some basics, not be afraid of the kitchen, know where things are, know how to handle a saucepan and fire and knives and all these things that are, marginally dangerous. We have to be careful with. And we spent a lot of time thinking about that stuff. It's all integrated into here.
In order to find joy in cooking and to teach our kids that cooking is a creative act, I think we first have to learn that ourselves. And honestly, from your book, How to Cook Everything, that's where I really understood that I could open the refrigerator, look at what I had, and throw something together. If I had rice vinegar, tinned fish, chili oil, some of the different things that I knew to have around, how to stock a basic kitchen. I've really only learned in the last couple of years how to find cooking fun instead of an annoying daily activity. And I feel like you have to learn that for yourself before you can teach that to your kids.
The way my life developed, 5 o'clock every day was just such a relief that I could go in the kitchen and start cooking, even if it was 6 o'clock. It was always a mad scramble, but it was so different from what I was doing the rest of the day. I just, it really just felt like, oh, thank God. It was sort of like going and doing yoga or whatever. I don't want to over stress those parallels, but they're real. There are levels of cooking, and the first is slavishly following recipes. And the fact that a lot of people need to slavishly follow recipes is how I've made a living, by doing that. But when you describe opening the refrigerator and saying, okay, I know what I have in the kitchen, in the pantry, I know what's in the refrigerator now, what am I going to do? And figuring it out yourself, that's like the most liberating thing in the world. And that's being a cook. That's not someone who slavishly follows recipes. That's somebody who knows what they're doing. And it doesn't take forever to get to that stage. Of course, you have to follow recipes at the beginning, or you have someone else teaching you what to do. But at some point, the joy is really in, oh, well, I'm opening the refrigerator. I'm seeing a piece of meat. I'm seeing some cabbage. I'm seeing carrots. I'm seeing sour cream, whatever. I'm seeing these things. Here's what I think I'm going to do. This is what'll work. And then it works brilliantly or it works okay. But, next thing you know, you're eating dinner and you're happy. So I do think if we can get kids to the point where they can do things like that by the time they leave home, man, what a great gift that is. To not have to learn, not even going to begin to guess your age, but not have to learn
35. Just guess 35. That's the default.
That's what you always say. To not have to learn when you're 35 or
like me, right?
50, like some people. That's a really great thing to learn when you're in your teens and to begin to learn when you're a little kid.
One of the things that this book captures that I think we sometimes talk on the podcast about being a parent, being a mother, that there's kind of secret box of creativity out there somewhere. And if you find the right class, and if you're somewhere out in the world, is your kids finding their creativity, and that all these things are mysterious, and that it's in your kitchen already. Like it's Dorothy, click your heels. You've got it here. Everything you need for your kids, whether that's the love you provide them or the ability to be creative in a kitchen. I think I had a little bit of an aha moment with that of, oh, I'm forcing maybe my kids to 4 different art classes. Cooking is creative, and I'm not a natural person in the kitchen at all. And I have clung to recipes out of fear. I don't know what I'm doing and I'm going to mess it up and it's going to taste bad. But the idea of cooking as a creative outlet, I really like the way it's captured in this book.
Yeah. I mean, which is not to say that some kids aren't going to want to do art classes or music classes or coding classes or all of those things. But you're right. You have this thing right there that is a daily activity that is destined to be creative, that is destined to be fun, that is destined to be good for you in all these different ways. Not just eating well, but learning skills and gaining confidence and all of that stuff. You're right. It is right there. It's right there. And if you can get your kid engaged in the kitchen, they can then have agency over what is going to happen at dinner time. And therefore, they're going to be more excited about eating it. So cooking it is preliminary to figuring out what's going to get cooked and then enjoying the eating of it, especially with online shopping or online ordering. This can even be, an activity you do together where it starts with, what should we have tomorrow night? Let's make sure we have what we need. Be ready at 5 o'clock or 4:30 or 6 or whenever we're going to start. And here's what we're going to do. And man, I'm just unpacking all the positives that are involved in that would take forever, but you can feel it. I mean, just listening to what I'm saying, it's just all right there. It's like such a great experience.
Yeah, we've talked to the author, Micheline Duclef, who's written Hunt, Gather, Parent, and she talks about how so many people have play kitchens and that when she travels around the world, you rarely see a play kitchen. The kids are in the kitchen.
Of course not. Right.
Right. You don't actually need a plastic kitchen in another room where you pretend to make food. Come on in. There's a kitchen. You can actually make food.
There are so many things that are so easy to make that take a lot of guidance and care, but that in every single recipe, there are skills to be learned and lessons to be learned and good food to be produced.
We are talking to Mark Bittman, the author of How to Cook Everything Kids, and we will be right back.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that, taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. Mark, I'm wondering about picky eating, which is something that we talk a lot about with our listeners on the podcast.
I'll bet.
And it's a problem. And I'm wondering if you think that the way that we tend to silo our kids away from the kitchen, I'm cooking, I'm going to sling you your chicken nuggets and, go do your homework, if that's contributing to the problem, if we can help with picky eating by bringing them into the process of creating food together?
I'm not a child rearing expert, a child psychologist, anything like that.
But if you were, to pretend you were for the next 10 minutes.
I did raise 2 kids, and
there you go. You're an expert.
They're grown women now, and they're both fantastic cooks. And I think to some extent it was, I don't want to use the de-discipline word. There was a little bit of, look, this is what we're eating tonight, or maybe more than a little bit of, this is what we're eating tonight. If you don't want to eat it, go have a bowl of cereal or go have some yogurt or whatever. but we're not cooking you separate meals. This is what we're eating. And I think things are worse than they were when as I said, I raised my kids in the 80s and 90s. Things are worse than they were then. There's more fast food. It's easier to get takeout. It's easier to have, as you said, chicken nuggets in the freezer and pizza in the freezer and all this other stuff that kids are used to eating and don't challenge. And they're used to eating is right. Even though they had chicken nuggets for lunch at school, it's fine with them to have more because
these are different shape, to be fair, though. The ones at dinner are dinosaur shape. Those were nuggets. The ones at dinner
are actually hot, whereas the ones at lunch are lukewarm.
There you go.
My own picky eater, when he was 5, he famously explained to a friend of ours who was a very good cook. And he said to him, if I had you over for dinner, what would I make you? And he said, well, I eat all sorts of chicken nuggets. And
so. We had, famously, my kids each of them had a friend who was so particular that it made us feel like we were really doing a great job, because one of these kids would come over and never eat anything except dry cereal, boxed cereal. That was it. You just couldn't get him to eat anything else. And the other one would come over and just eat either plain white rice or plain white noodles and nothing else. And I just could still hear her voice saying, more white rice, please. And you couldn't get them to try tomato sauce. You couldn't get them to, but I think about who their parents were. One was a single dad who worked his head off and didn't have any interest in food himself. And then the other were a couple who were both lawyers and had 2 young kids and were insanely busy and were scrambling all the time and were willing to do. So we were lucky. I was writing books. I had time to cook. Now, with so many more people working at home, I think so much of cooking is made easier if you can take 10 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes in the afternoon and peel carrots or wash greens or make beans or whatever it is. If you're home, the sort of tough part can be dealt with ahead of time. But I really think just this whole notion of enticing the kids into the kitchen before and being part of the process so that you're not plopping something on the table that looks foreign or strange to them, but they had a hand in it from the beginning. And that can be meatballs, which are fun to make, or that can be pasta with a funny, amusing, different kind of sauce. It can be biscuits or muffins, which there has to be a little give and take in here. You can make a little bit sweeter. You can start to appeal to that side of things. But it can also be rice and beans, which kids can learn how to enjoy and which are a staple for 90% of the people in the world. It can be a salad, which is something that you can put together in a fun way and include raisins and nuts and pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds and all these kind of things that maybe whatever it is that the kid, peanuts for that matter, whatever it is that your particular kid is going to enjoy. There's like a reading the room kind of thing here. What is going to appeal to my kid? What does my kid like? And maybe you start with making from scratch chicken nuggets, but it can be done. And if any parent knew what went into store-bought chicken McNuggets, they wouldn't buy them because they're way too gross. But if you make chicken nuggets yourself, there's 4 ingredients. It's not a big deal. And you can do that. They're good enough for grown-ups to eat if you make them yourself. So then you have the sort of foundation of a meal. But I could go on, carrot puree and mashed potatoes from scratch for that matter. And, broccoli cut into fun shapes and dipped into ranch dressing. And there's just a million things you can think of that they're not all going to appeal to every kid, but there is something that is going to appeal to every kid.
And I think talking about the busy parent, having been the busy parent and a parent who is not naturally inclined to cooking, we try to say always on the podcast, you do this not because it's on your list of things you should do. It actually makes your life easier in the long run. If you can get in the kitchen with your kids, I have found this, it takes a lot of time. It's a bonding time. You're all in the same place. When you have teens, it's easier to have a conversation with them if you're doing a secondary activity. If you're staring them in the face and being like, okay, how are we doing with sex, drugs, and rock and roll? They're going to run away. If you're cooking, and I have a kid with food aversions, food restrictions, some serious issues around eating. And I was just showing him the condiment bar section in this. This is a kid who the idea of putting a condiment on anything was terrifying. But I do think there is something in the control that says like, well, what if we took mayo? You do like hot sauce. Let's try it in that and see how it makes it a little creamy. Like really letting the kids, I think some of the food aversion stuff is medical and beyond my expertise. But I do think for this kid of mine, there is a control aspect in it of not wanting to like have foreign thing. What is this weird thing coming out of the bun? I just wanted a plain burger and a bun. And I have found that bringing that kid into the creativity of it and the making of the pieces and like, well, you could try a little relish. It's fine to not like that. But what about whatever it is, trying the food and being part of it from the beginning takes away the scariness of, I don't know what this weird thing is dripping out of my sandwich.
Right. I mean, I think you're right about control. You have to have options. And again, you have to read the room. You have to learn what the kid is receptive to. But kids like weird combinations. I mean, some kids like weird combinations and other kids want ketchup on everything. So you kind of have to find the sweet spot there. If there's a kid who likes ketchup on everything, right, try mixing the ketchup with mayonnaise. Try changing the form of the ketchup. But fine, serve ketchup on everything. It's not a big deal, but make the everything be different.
There's a concept called food chaining that psychologists use for kids with restrictive food disorder. And this is the idea. And I did it with my all sorts of chicken nuggets kid that he wanted ketchup on everything. So that was exactly what I did, Mark. Like you can have ketchup on yogurt, have a ketchup on anything if it means you'll put it in your mouth. And then you can start to take the ketchup away.
You build out. One of the things you talked about earlier, and I think this has been a huge access point for me, is that kids also like dangerous things. I have a scouting group that I'm the, scout mom for. And we got all of those boys cooking. We had a night where the moms came over and the scouts made dinner for them. And the knives, knife skills is part of scouting. And this is not an endorsement of bringing a bunch of boys over and handing them knives in your kitchen. That would be a bad idea. But fire, knives, like the kitchen is really an exciting place. And I think we forget that aspect too when we're talking about food, that we think of it as like the 50s mom in the apron and she's doing her womanly things in there. There's a lot of excitement in the kitchen.
Right. Knives and fire, as you just said, they're dangerous things. But there's ways to take some of that out. And an induction stove, which more and more people are getting, doesn't even really get hot. I mean, you have to like work on it to burn yourself on an induction stove. So and they're faster and they're cleaner and da-da-da-da. So that's very cool. And I also think people have better knives than they did when I was growing up, and they have cutting boards and they keep their knives sharp, and all of those things make knives safer, not more dangerous. So, you see your kid there with a carrot and a sharp knife going like this, and you can't help but have your heart speed up and think, oh my God, this is really frightening. But if you're there and you're like, okay, here's how we're going to do it. Let me help you if they're 4 years old or 8 years old. Okay, now you can do it yourself if they're 10 years old or 12 years old. I mean, imagine what teenagers who are brought up that way are like. And I think the thing you said before about having the kids in the kitchen, I mean, even my mother never encouraged us or let us cook, but she did want us around so we could do menial chores for her. But even that sort of kept of course I was resentful as hell, but it was kind of a bonding experience to some extent. Go buy me a quart of milk or set the table or wash the silverware or whatever kind of thing it was. We were in there. We saw what was going on. We knew about it. We knew what was involved. And even that level of involvement is, I think, preferable to if you're calling for takeout or you're going to the fast food drive-thru or whatever. Anything that gets the kid into the kitchen. I mean, especially cooking, but cooking is sort of the ambition or the goal, but just involvement in food, involvement in the kitchen. So great.
We're talking to Mark Bittman. His new book is How to Cook Everything Kids, and we'll be right back.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com. So I approached this book as a reluctant chef or cook person. And
because you're not a kid, or
just because I'm not a person who loves to cook. I didn't cook growing up. It's funny because my brother-in-law's a chef and my sister's an amazing cook. I missed it. It wasn't interesting to me. And now I feel a little bit, I have a whole story about, well, I don't really cook and I don't know what I'm doing. And it's funny because now I see myself being like, oh, butter and flour. And then you add the drippings. Like I know how to cook now. I mean, I've kind of gotten there, but I think my internal story is I don't know how to cook. And I will say for people like me, this book is not just for kids. I was like, oh, look at there's a whole guide to how to cut things, because when you don't grow up cooking, I think sometimes you approach a recipe or something about cooking and I'm like, I don't know what glistening oil looks like. I'm out. You just feel like you're entering too late. And then sometimes all fields, there are complications and things that you feel are designed to keep you out of it, kind of like, oh, if I don't know what this chiffonade word means, I guess I don't belong here. And I like this book. I found it very useful for me.
I mean, that's cool. That's an unintended and wonderful consequence. We do have a book called How to Cook Everything, the Basics, which is actually
all right. I got to go back. I got to get
That's the one I have.
I have had it really good.
Copy.
Good.
Right. Well, there's that. But sure, there's always this. I've been writing recipes. I've been writing cookbooks for a long time and recipes even longer. I mean, chiffonade is a great example. Do you write a recipe that says chiffonade the basil? Or do you write a recipe that says roll the basil up like cigar leaves and slice it as thinly as you can? Do you write a recipe that says when the oil is shimmering, I don't remember what word you used, but shimmering is kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think I said glistening, but it was the same basic. Yeah, shimmering.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a way to know when the oil's shimmering. But at the same time, you can't, the famous joke among cookbook authors is the instruction line says separate the eggs, and the novice cook takes 2 eggs and goes like
moves
this,
them away
separates
from each
them.
other.
So,
that might be me.
There's always this sort of balancing act about how much detail do you actually go into. Well, in a book that is designed for kids, you're going to go into that level of detail that you would never get into in a book that's designed for adults, because you can make some assumptions. The adults know what boiling water means. I mean, everybody gets that far, at least. Adults know what things look like when they're done, even if they've never cooked them before.
I know what a frosted cake is supposed to look like. I'm not sure I can frost one, but I have the picture in my head.
Right. Well, even simpler, you know what a fried egg looks like. So if I say to you, here's how you cook a fried egg, and when it's done, it'll look like a fried egg. But with a kid, you need more detail. So, it's not really meant to be or that is to say, we think we have written a book for adults who don't know how to cook, and it's called The Basics. And it does go into more detail and has a lot of knife skills and basics about ingredients and stuff like that. This is really, there's an element of fun here. And I think we've brought it across with the fantastic, the photography is gorgeous, but gorgeous photography is now standard in cookbooks. But the illustrations are amazing and hilarious and wonderful and charming and all of that stuff. So it is like a children's book. It looks like a children's book. And we don't talk down to kids. We don't talk baby talk or any of that stuff. But it is designed to look and feel like a book that kids want to poke around in.
For sure. And my approach is, if you are an intimidated cook parent, this will help you both get there. Like, you don't have to know how to cook to help your kids use this book. It's very clear. The diagrams are so clear. And I think if you yourself are intimidated about cooking, take a look at this book in the bookstore and go look at it, because you'll see it walks you through. It walks both of you, if the parent needs help as well, through stuff. And I also like that the recipes kind of exist on a spectrum. It starts with very easy recipes, like very, very approachable. You must have done that purposefully.
You got to get people in. But there's a lot of really creative stuff in here, like using a kind of very simple frittata as the base for a pizza. So now you have a pizza that's got this high protein, little bit of white flour, but mostly egg, but sturdy so-called crust, and you can put whatever you want on that. And that's like an amazing recipe that it could be in a grown-up cookbook. There are things in here that we went through and processed, and what can we do that is really different? And some of the stuff is really new, and some of it is extremely simple, stirring jam into plain yogurt, for example, that kind of stuff. Really, really simple stuff, as you say.
And you want that sort of readability. What's funny is I'm not much of a cook, but I sure am a collector of cookbooks. I probably have 30 cookbooks. There's nothing I love more than looking through a cookbook. It's so fun to me.
Looking through a cookbook and then proceeding to ignore it.
I mean, as I dial the takeout place, I love looking through a cookbook. Exactly. No, I try. I'm getting better. But there is something where I think with, especially when you have kids who haven't been in the kitchen before. Another thing we talk about on the podcast a lot, it's not too late to start. Today is the day. If you have, listen, I've had the 12-year-old who only ate white rice and noodles. And that child is now a 16-year-old who eats a pretty nice wide variety of stuff.
I mean, that 16 is great. That's really great.
Number one thing is that they tend to get hungrier in puberty, and it drives them past some of the picky eating. But I do think one of the big things that I did to make a difference in that outcome is exposing them to, let's go to the store together. Let's look at a bunch of different foods. Let's see, just trying to break through. Is it fear of the unknown? And I think cookbooks is another great way to do that. Let's look at this. Does this look like, let's think about what we could make together that would inspire you. And this book has such a great range of stuff. You're going to find something in those categories.
Thank you for that. And the book is great. I think it starts with involving your kids in what you're eating. And it starts, it obviously is an effort. It starts with you, with us, with parents being involved in what our kids are eating in a more active way. So again, to go back to my childhood, and I was as screwed up as anybody, but I had a grandmother who was a fantastic cook and a mother who cooked dutifully, but every single day, not with joy, I will say, but she did it. And there was just always that activity in the kitchen, and it was a place where things were happening. And if you wanted to find mom and blah, blah, blah. And then when I left home, I spent literally a year or two eating hamburgers, ice cream, Coke, because I was 17 and couldn't think about anything else. And that was the sort of default thing. By the time I was 20, I was cooking And I think I was comfortable in the kitchen because my mom engaged me in some of that stuff. I think if your parents engage you in cooking when you're 4, 6, 8, 10, I mean, you're just destined to have a life where you appreciate food. You know how to deal with it. It's not intimidating to be in the kitchen. That's just a wonderful thing to add to somebody's life.
And bringing this joy of cooking back to the parent, because so I have a teenage daughter and she has become, now that she's the only one at home, I have 2 kids in college, she cooks with me and it's our time to talk about the day, and she drives the bus sometimes. Tonight I thought we'd make this, and it's amazing, and it's turned into our time together, and it's taken cooking from something I used to do by myself and grumble about and be resentful about and truthfully get no joy out of it. Just was a means to an end. And now her doing it with me is bringing me a lot of joy. Not just I'm teaching her an important skill and I need to do this as a parent. It's actually making it a fun time of day for me as well.
Right.
Yeah.
How great. So great. That's kind of the payoff for, I mean, look, anything can happen. It's kids. But I think if you start, even when they're really little, having them not feel like, oh, you're underfoot, go watch television, but can you get me a spoon? Even that kind of thing. And then 2 years later is, would you like to cut the carrots? Can I show you how to do that? Or wash the lettuce or whatever. And then 2 years later, want to make an omelet? Let me teach you how to do that. Or let's learn how to make an omelet if you don't know how to do it. Here it is. What do you do to eggs to make them look like that? And again, wow, it's just such a wonderful relationship and such a terrific involvement. And it's such a great investment because, you know, you're going to have a kid who's growing up not only eating healthy as a kid, but knowing what those patterns are when they're teenagers and young adults, and certainly when they're adults. You don't have to be a genius or even a particularly thoughtful person to recognize that your food preferences were shaped when you were little. I mean, everybody knows that. It just takes a second to think about it, and you know that. So some of us, many of us in the United States have to combat that because we're like, oh, well, I want cheeseburgers. I want hot dogs. I want pizza. I want chicken McNuggets. That's what I want when I feel sad. That's what I want when I feel happy. That's what I want when I have some extra money. That's what I want when I have no money. It's like all of that. And if you're a thoughtful, conscious adult who says, well, I'd rather eat healthy, everybody knows that that's a struggle if you grew up eating junky stuff. And everybody my age did in the United States. But we can break that. You have to break that cycle. And the way to break that cycle, or one way to break that cycle, is to get, for adults to cook and to get the kids involved. That's a way to build healthier adults for sure.
We have been talking to Mark Bittman, the author of How to Cook Everything Kids. Tell our audience where they can find you. I think they know how to find a book. It's 2024. People go, you know how to buy a book by now, or you've got bigger problems.
Having said that, the best place to buy this book is through the Bittman Project at bittmanproject.com, because we have a link to buy the book at a reasonable price, but one that supports independent booksellers. So it's all kind of great. But obviously you can buy it anywhere. But we are mostly found at markbittman.com or bittmanproject.com. And we have a newsletter. We have a podcast of our own. Certainly not as interesting as this one, but not bad.
And not hosted by 2 stunning 35-year-olds. So,
exactly.
No,
Great
hosted
cooks.
by a really old guy and his 35-year-old daughter. Yeah, but markbittman.com is sort of the easiest thing to remember and the easiest way to find us.
We both really loved this book. Mark, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.